Yes, greetings and the best of salutations. Coming to understanding oneself is beginning to be it's beginning to be very challenging to come to that point or come to that understanding in the midst of disturbances. There is a teaching that says a person who knows not and knows not that they know not is foolish. Disregard them. That is the foolishness, excuse me, that one has to uh, deal with um, himself and within himself, excuse me, as well as the foolish activities of others. And the difficulty is to disregard being, acting, and becoming consumed by the fostering of foolishness. There's another saying in Know Thyself, ancient Egyptians. A person who knows not and knows that they know not is simple. Teach them. Simple-mindedness is another thing that one has to deal with that's inside of an individual, but yet at the same time, make it simple, make it plain, teach them. But what is dangerous is the very thing that you're trying to teach, or that is being taught for you, is the very thing that one is rejecting and arguing against. Yeah. It's another story within itself, and don't keep hitting your foot up against the prick. Yes. A person who knows not and believes that they know is dangerous, avoid them. It's the dangerous side that is within me and with others, want to avoid that. And not be overwhelmed or overtaken and consumed by that behavior, that thinking, because it's dangerous and it becomes very harmful and destructive. A person who knows and knows not that they know is asleep. Awaken them. Awaken one could be suspended in animation, which means temporarily sleep, due to his or her passions. And it's like you in a dream, and you awaken into the dream, waken from the dream, and you have to deal with the reality, and that has to be when one becomes even mentally incapacitated. When he or she is mentally incapacitated, he or she is unable to reason. When he or she is under reason, the reason he or she is demonically possessed, but at the same time, one must deal with not being disoriented, discombobulated, and disillusioned. Must deal with this reality And many people try to escape this reality. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise, follow them. Yes. All these persons reside in you. Know thyself, and to my art be true. Person trying to come to understand self, because we have to confront, we will all become confronted by our deeds. Whether good or bad, we all have to face the consequences of our actions, and we must realize that we live in a shared space, a shared environment. Coming to understand, oneself, where one takes its cues from, People speak from their own vantage point. They behave in a manner that that puts them, at an advantage. This is a learned behavior, and this is also could take on the misuse of manipulation. Therefore, one become very, mischievous, cute due to, one's what one has done, or suggested, by someone or someone possibly an expert in the field. And what is the field? I call it the energy field. But I like to call it also I labor in the field of life transitional endeavors, trying to make an impact wherever I go. But it is a calculation. One calculates where you get your cues from, and it deals with one's core energy. And when you deal with one's core energy, you deal with one's understanding, and out of understanding comes consciousness. So you become consciously aware of the environment. We'll get into that in a minute. The environment, deal with the order, the duty, and responsibility as a family, living in this shared space, this shared environment. The task, the effort, the time, the energy, and the nature of this environment in which we learn one from another. The center and this circumference are one. Yes. Where we take our cues from. The energy is the vital force. When you go to the doctor, they say, they check your vital signs. And they ask, what environment did you grow up in? And they say, well, there lies the problem. Environment, man. Environment. Yes. Some will call it the car. Some will call it the Holy Spirit. Some would say the Kaaba. The Ba, the frequency in relationship to the soul. As the artist called it, the soul power. Some countries, such as Seoul, Korea, associated really, soul peace, the power of peace. As-salam alaikum, or Ptah Hotep, peace. Yes, the salam, the part, as-salam is the whole. Yes, do your part. Hold up to your responsibility. And when you hold up to your responsibility, we can hold our head up. And knowing that this environment is a learning environment, and we realize that the environment is important, and we realize that women have much to offer because she prepares the environment for the child, and the environment is being prepared in the mother's womb, development in the womb of darkness, but yet coming out and into the light, building our own, culture, mode, way of life, If there is a crisis and there is a problem, it is a identity problem, all ethnic groups have a way of life and which they want to live, There's nothing wrong with that. But if there's a problem, it's a moral problem, When the sensitivity changes, Look at as a mother has a natural sentiment, to see that you have a good life, Meaning proper behavior, I say adequate cooperation leads to proper communication, and that's how you effectively coordinate your power, the soul power, the bar, the freedom of expression, the freedom from fear, the freedom from want, If there is not proper behavior, then life becomes destructive, Yes, and if as Dr. Francis Quells Wellson said, if people don't respect themselves, they won't protect themselves. So the mother wants to protect, the house, the social order, Queen bee, Yes, because when you attack one, you attack them all, Yes. So we must have, some moral sensitivity, and think about it, maybe some of the industries here and wherever it may be, becoming a little more, insensitive, a little much more inconsiderate to the moral sensitivity of life, and when it comes to respect, honor, dignity, But mother is the teacher of the house, the teacher of the child, I should say, the protector of the house, the order of the house. But said charity begins at home, so respect for government starts at home, Because we are a government within a government, There's a saying about the Bible, basic instructions, before leaving Earth, It's basic, the basics, Respect. And charity begins at the home. The charity for human development, growth and development, And you can see why people gravitate to certain things. But if you look at the human development problem, we will see that there is a lack of respect and moral sensitivity one for another, Yes. And so one needs, guidance, direction, and instructions. Now, where do he or she find those guidance and instructions because he or she is looking for a model that they cannot find in themselves, But once you come to know the importance of one's of moral sensitivity and coming to know thyself better in this shared space and learning environment. And when we come to realize that the best body of knowledge is creation, it was prepared for us to come and live in this environment and to uphold, the responsibility not to destroy it, nor to degrade it. And the same applies to the moral, the character, the human development of the human makeup when it comes to his intellect and when it comes to his humanity. So we are social and spiritual creatures, if I may use that term, And you look at how nations rise up, then they gravitate to a religious belief that takes them out of darkness, out the fast life, You could look at Japan, You could look at any nation, of group of people who realize of the moral sensitivity and getting them out of darkness and creating a industry, because if you look at the word dust itself, it says we return, but it's curiosity, it's science, but the importance I want to get to on the need of a cultural mode of life. But we have to take a very serious look at culture, as Dr. Sismo say, when it becomes destructive. Got to take a very serious look at life, at anything when it becomes destructive. And we must find that mode and that model within ourselves. No, it's covered up layers and layers. But if we keep peeling back the layers, we will get to that the core of who we are, and find that centering in realizing the centering in the circumference are one, likened unto the ka, in the ba, in the you, in the me, in the yin, in the yang.